You know those mornings where, okay, nobody's technically late, but somehow everything still feels rushed. Everybody's hungry, you're trying to get out the door, somebody can't find something. And before you've even finished your coffee, you're already feeling overwhelmed and totally in survival mode. Today, I'm showing you one tiny thing I'm doing now that make those mornings feel so much easier. Today, I'm making a batch of high protein Caprese egg bites. The original recipe comes from Healthy Mama Meals, and I'll link her below because she has some really great make-ahead breakfast ideas. One thing I have noticed over the last few years is that breakfast is usually the first thing to fall apart when life gets busy. Dinner gets all the attention, but breakfast is oftentimes where we're making decisions half awake while we're trying to get out the door, and that's really what this prep is trying to solve. Now, full disclosure, I did make a grocery run before filming this because we were completely out of egg whites, almost out of cottage cheese, and running low on eggs. But one thing I was not willing to do was buy basil when I already had basil sitting in my fridge. And is this basil at the absolute peak of freshness? No, it is not. Is it perfectly usable? Yes, so we're going with it. I think sometimes we make meal prep harder than it needs to be because we assume everything has to be perfect before we start. But the truth is there's always an ingredient we're missing. There's always something we meant to pick up. There's always a reason to put it off until next week. But good enough meal prep beats perfect meal prep every single time. These egg bites are packed with protein thanks to the eggs, egg whites, and cottage cheese. One thing I've learned is that breakfast tends to go a lot better when there's a little protein involved. Everyone stays full longer and there's a lot less, I'm a lot less likely to hear, "Mom, I'm hungry," 20 minutes after breakfast. And yes, you heard me right, there is cottage cheese in there, which my children would have strong opinions about if they knew. There would be questions. There would be concerns. There might even be negotiations. Fortunately, we're putting everything in the blender, and once it's blended, it just kind of disappears into the mixture. Nobody knows, nobody asks questions, everybody eats breakfast. And honestly, that feels kind of like a parenting win. I feel like feeding kids is this constant balance between helping them expand their horizons and just getting some decent food into them before they leave the house. I love that these feel a little more interesting than just grabbing a granola bar on the way out the door, but they're still easy enough for real life. Honestly, that's become my standard for recipes these days. Normally, I would spray these molds before filling them. However, I was out of cooking spray and I was not going to make another trip to the store. So if you have cooking spray, use it. Your future self will thank you. Another little trick is adding some water around the molds while they bake. It helps the egg bites cook more evenly and it gives them that softer texture. The only downside is carrying this to the oven feels a little bit like a trust exercise. At this point, the hardest part is getting the tray into the oven without sloshing water all over the kitchen. All right, while these are baking, if you're new around here, this channel is all about making the job of feeding your family feel just a little bit less overwhelming. It's not about perfect meals. It's not about perfect meal prep, just real systems that work in real life. So if you're looking for practical ways to make meals, groceries, everyday life a little bit easier, then I'd love to have you subscribe. These smell amazing. So you've got the basil, the tomatoes, the mozzarella, and what I love most is that they feel a little bit special without requiring much effort, which honestly is my favorite category of recipe. So is this going to solve every stressful morning? No, someone is still going to lose a shoe, but at least breakfast won't be one of the problems that we're solving. If you're looking for more realistic ways to make feeding your family a little bit less overwhelming, I'm going to point you to 2 videos that I think you'll enjoy next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you over there.